Here's a question for you. Why are autistic people so exhausted and overstimulated all the time? The answer is pretty straightforward. The world just isn't designed for people on the autism spectrum. So in this video, I'm gonna break down 5 ways the world works against people with autism, and I'm also gonna throw in some quick and easy fixes that everyone could do to improve it. Number 1, processing time. When I'm in a restaurant and the server asks me a question like coffee, tea, or water, or white wheat or rye bread, if I don't answer it quickly enough, they ask me again, sometimes louder, or they'll throw another question at me. There's this unconscious agreement about how long a person should have to answer certain questions. But people with autism often work on a different schedule. Just because it seems like it's been long enough for another person doesn't mean I've even finished answering it to myself. But it doesn't mean I'm hard of hearing or dumb. It means I might need time to think without being barraged by more questions or getting hints of annoyance from you. So if you're working in the service industry or have a colleague or a friend who takes a long time thinking before speaking, don't assume they need more questions. Just give them a bit longer time for thinking. You might even be surprised with what they can come up with, and it'll help them feel more comfortable and think more about what's being said without being rushed. Number 2 is eye contact. Society views eye contact as a sign that you are listening to the person speaking, that you are being respectful and are interested. It's a sign that you are sincere and trustworthy. In an interview or interrogation, for example, it is often used as evidence as to whether or not you're innocent or guilty. People with autism and neurodiverse brains in general, like ADHD, generally can listen better and focus more on what is being said when they can be comfortable. And for a lot of neurodiverse people, making eye contact is not only uncomfortable, but also highly distracting. How long do I hold eye contact for? What color is that person's eyes? I wonder where she got those glasses. I kind of feel like her eyes are a little too far apart. Oh my gosh, why does he keep blinking? Why the heck is his eyebrows so damn bushy? You see, all these other thoughts and questions not only can make us anxious, but also distracted. We also might be thinking hard about what you're saying and connecting it to other things, like bigger ideas we've discussed in the past. It's sometimes hard for people to understand, but our brains are moving a mile a minute, almost all the time. So if you want someone to focus on what you're saying, don't assume that a lack of eye contact is a lack of listening. There are other ways you can gauge listening and interest, such as giving pauses and chances for that person to add to what you said or ask questions. You can also observe what they do later or follow up privately if it was in a group setting, and give them a chance to voice ideas or questions in a way that works for them, maybe in writing or a short voice message. Whatever works for both of you to communicate clearly. Number 3. Revolving around a morning schedule. People with autism have a different biological makeup when it comes to sleep. We often don't process melatonin at what would be considered normal levels. We're prone to high levels of anxiety and depression, which can also negatively affect sleep. And people with autism are also often night owls, which is not a choice, but rather our biological makeup. It's ingrained in our DNA. For more information about that, you should check out this book, Why We Sleep. When you're growing up and going to school, or when you're thinking about jobs, almost all of them start pretty early. Think about it. A 9-to-5 job could have you leaving your house by 7:30 just to get to work on time. But if you couldn't fall asleep until 4 a.m. because your brain wouldn't shut off, are you gonna be your best self in the morning? No, it's not about laziness. Sometimes it's factors beyond our control, like our biological clock and our brain chemistry. So if you're a supervisor, or you have a friend who just can't move in the mornings, try to understand why and be patient. Perhaps adjusting their schedule could lead to vastly different outcomes that are more positive for everyone. Communication is key here, and try to avoid making assumptions. Number 4 is inflexible work environments. Work environments may not be accommodating to the needs of individuals with ASD who might require flexibility, quieter workspaces, or adjustments to their work schedule. We might face difficulties in securing and maintaining employment due to rigid workplace policies and expectations. The common perception has long been that a 40-hour work week is full-time. But how about if 40 hours out in the world, just for work time, feels like about 100 hours of social time and leaves you utterly exhausted? Even if someone isn't always working with others, the common pressure to mask while in the workplace puts huge amount of stress on people with autism. And all of this just adds to the exhaustion that comes with work anyways. Then add in the fast pace of a lot of environments with interruptions due to spontaneous conversations, background noises, meetings, and on and on and on. This routine just does not work for a lot of autistic brains. Then consider the stress of the actual commute to get to work. Let me tell you, it's not fun. Sometimes it hurts. Most of the time, it hurts. Is all of this really necessary? One of the silver linings from COVID seems to be that many companies experimented with remote work for their employees. And this seems like a trend that many people, autistic and not, hope is here to stay. But it shouldn't only be reserved for people under pandemic circumstances. Companies and bosses could be open to adjustments for their staff. This could be a game changer for someone with autism. For example, I have friends who have asked their companies about a 4-day work week with a 20% decrease in their pay to make up for the adjustment of hours. And some of them got it. They were happier and more productive when they were working. The company didn't really pay them extra, so it worked out well. How about making options like this the norm? Also, normalize mental health days or work from home days. Because for someone on the spectrum, this just means they couldn't get out of bed for that day. But maybe they could still work if they could stay home, in their safe place, to do it without having to face the entire world for the day. The last thing they want is a bunch of questions about it. But knowing they have the option to stay home could help to ease anxiety. So ask yourself this: do you feel tired after a 40-hour work week? If the answer is yes, then imagine that you not only have your full workload and your own family and life commitments, but also an autistic brain that is constantly on edge with the world it exists within. Be supportive of others when they are having a tough time, and just know that there often may be more than meets the eye, especially with neurological differences. Number 5 is a lack of understanding and awareness. Many people do not fully understand the nuances of ASD, which can lead to misunderstandings, prejudice, and discrimination. There might be a lack of empathy towards individuals with ASD, with people misconstruing their behaviors as rude or inappropriate. Who made social rules anyway? And how can you learn them except from social interactions, which are pretty darn uncomfortable for people with autism in the first place? Think about it this way. You go out to eat at a restaurant. It's a brunch shop, so most of the foods are ones you will eat with a fork and a knife. The menu consists of meals for one person and a drink list. You order, and there are some follow-up questions about condiment types, maybe the types of toast and how you like your coffee. Boom, that's it. A little tiring, but that's okay. Then you go for lunch with a friend, and your friend is dying to try a sushi place. Okay, you walk in and you sit on a floor instead of at a table and chairs. How does the ordering look there? Well, it's a bunch of small dishes to share in a totally different language. You see chopsticks everywhere, and there's condiments like soy sauce and wasabi and things you haven't ever seen before. The questions from the server are different because the foods are all different, and so are the drinks. Now, this might seem simple for a neurotypical mind, but it's not so easy for a neurodiverse brain. All these questions. How many pieces of food should I eat if we're sharing? It's small, but do I shove the whole thing in my mouth at once? Which condiments do I use? And when? How do you even use those small sticks to eat? This is kind of like how social interactions go. Yes, you might share a common language and a common culture and be American or Canadian or from the West Coast or whatever, but those are all vast generalizations. It's kind of like saying that going out to eat is just going to a restaurant, but how about brunch for sushi? A lot of parts of society are very localized and even specific to certain people and their families and communities and how they grew up. Assuming that people who don't follow social norms are weird or doing things that are rude and then not addressing it in a way that works for both sides is a good example of how the world works against people with autism. How are we supposed to know the rules that you want us to follow or you think are correct? How are we supposed to know the social norms anyway? We can observe and practice, and many of us do, but it also isn't easy. So without support and patience from others, it often seems like an insurmountable task. So if you know someone who is awkward in social situations, and not all of them will have autism, but this also applies for autistic people, just be patient and understanding. And don't judge them for not doing things right. Because who's to say what is right anyways? It's more helpful to say that something bothered you and then say why. Or ask them to try not to say that one thing. This can help us build the rules you have in our brains, and if we want to interact with you, we will try to adjust. But we also hope you will make adjustments too. Do you agree or disagree with any of these points? Let me know in the comments section. I absolutely love reading what you have to say. I read this book and really enjoyed it. Some parts I had to read more than once. And you know what? If you don't want to buy this book just to read it, you should buy it just to check out this guy's photograph. Are you kidding me? I'm not even going to talk about his biography. I'm not even going to talk about his little blurb here. Berkeley, Harvard. He's got his own lab.